What's up? It's Chris Sims. It's Chris Sims Unbuttoned, and I got one of my guys here. That's right. It's quarterback time. Quarterback school. Bo Nix, quarterback of the Oregon Quack Attack Ducks, joining me today. I appreciate that, man. How you doing, Bo?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today.
Of course, man. I've got so much respect for your game, your journey, all of that. So I want to make sure we hit on all of that. But as I was sitting there talking about you, Oregon Ducks, right, and all of that, here's the first thing, just random, right? What's your favorite uniform you wore all those years in Oregon? Because you guys change them every damn week.
Yeah, my favorite was we wore them a couple times. We wore it last year against Arizona and then this year against Washington. They were the eggshell ones, is what we call them, and they're the white ones with the green dots on them.
I
For
hear
some
you.
reason, I like the aesthetic on TV, and they look pretty good.
Yeah, they do look really good. How did you guys who decides uniforms on a weekly basis there in Oregon? Is it something like the players get a hand in, or does just the coach and Nike basically go, this is what we're wearing this week, so deal with it?
So it's a few different things actually. Sometimes Nike will tell us what we're wearing if it's a special game or if it's a special uniform. They'll tell us when they want us to wear it. But this year I was able to be on the player committee that got to put our thoughts together and kind of elaborate on the uniforms and what combination we want to wear for which game. And then last year, there was another player committee and so forth. So our equipment guy Kenny Farr does a great job putting that together, and he always takes care of us.
Oh, that's cool. I think I feel like it's safe to say, you're going to get to the NFL, you're going to be a starting quarterback at some point, and you're going to be wearing Nike cleats. Like, there's no way Nike lets you go to the NFL and doesn't have you as one of their guys, right?
So being at Oregon, that was one of the best things about it is the Nike stuff and the Nike experience, and I've been able to form great relationships with the people at Nike and those who work really hard for it. And obviously Phil Knight's at, every single one of our games, and he's a great, the biggest supporter we have. And so that's been, a hidden gem and an awesome little, gift that's come along with just being at Oregon is that Nike, partnership.
Yeah, I hear that. Whoever the partnership was, that was big in when I was coming out. I was like the number one player in high school football. I was always like, oh man, I'm going to a Nike school. I'm wearing Nike cleats. Yeah, you went to the
Mm-hmm.
ultimate Nike school. All right, so I wanna dive back into your early life, if you don't mind, a little bit. Really, because again, when I talk about quarterbacks, I like to see what makes them. How did you grow up? The sports you were involved, some of the influences in your life, all of that, right? So, first thing is when you were young, youth sports. What sports were you playing as a young athlete?
I loved baseball and basketball when I was little. My dad didn't let me play tackle football until seventh grade when I could play for my school. And so before that, I would play either flag football or, just hang out during the fall and wait for, basketball or baseball. Some years I played fall baseball. But whatever it was, I was always competing at the sport, that was in season. So in basketball and baseball season, I thought I was going to be the next, basketball or baseball player. That's what I
Right.
was, putting all my time into. And then eventually I was able to get out on the football field. And then, soon after that, I realized that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
All right. So baseball, what positions were we playing here?
So I pitched growing up and played shortstop and played center field. So kind of stayed down the middle of the defense. And obviously hitting is the toughest part of baseball. So if you can hit, you can make it far. So apparently I couldn't hit.
The hitting was the problem. Okay. All right. So the fielding stuff was good. Basketball, you point guard, shooting guard. Which one are you there?
Yeah, I was a point guard by trade and naturally, but sometimes in middle school, high school, I was a football player and grew, so I was oftentimes asked to guard the four or the five on the other opposing team. So it depended if we were on offense or defense or what position I was playing. But I like to bring the ball up the court and set the offense and be a quarterback on the basketball court.
Yeah, well, that's what happens to guys like that. Similar there too, right? Yeah, we still have some size, so they're like, yeah, you can play shooting guard or point guard on offense, but on defense, there's a four over there. You got to go be a little strong and physical with, and get down in the box and play that type of game. All right, so basketball, baseball, certainly awesome. I'm shocked to hear that with your dad. I mean, Patrick Nix, quarterback of the big bad SEC Auburn Tigers, he didn't let you play football. I am surprised. What went into that? Why was your dad? What was the messaging he was kind of giving you growing up there?
Well, simply put, he didn't necessarily want me to go out there and at a young age and just play ball in the ring or do a bunch of Oklahoma drills that
Yeah.
technically doesn't do much for the game of football. And the coaches aren't necessarily, you know, uh, they don't necessarily
Watch over you that
do it.
way, right?
Yeah, yeah. They're not necessarily high school or college coaches that are teaching technique and
Right.
that sort of thing, the fundamentals of the game. So he wouldn't let me play until I was playing for my school, with the high school or the JV coaches. And he also didn't want to let me, get burnt out. A lot of guys that play at a young age, they're calling it quits when they get to high school or college,
Exactly.
and they're just kind of done with it. But fortunately for me, I have not played, a whole lot of football. I'm still, catching up with guys who've been playing, since they were little kids.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that your dad had that type of vision, right? I mean, we've all seen that guy, psycho dad, who, yeah, now the kid is like so sick of the dad being on their butts all the time that they don't want to play sports anymore. Sophomore year in high school, they give it up. So, like, shout out to Patrick Nix there for being a normal father. And my dad was a lot that way too. I played earlier than you, but he was not overbearing, and I think that burnout point you make is real. All right, so you're going through that process, you're growing up, right? But you still love quarterback, or you like still the kid in the backyard throwing footballs with dad, doing all that type of stuff, working on quarterback stuff, or did you wait till you actually played like a little bit of a more organized, real football, like you were saying in 7th grade, and then you started to dive in?
Well, I always wanted to be a quarterback, and I begged him every year to go out there and play. But he stood his ground. He wouldn't let me, change his mind. But we played a lot in the backyard. I had a little brother, and so we played often, and we threw and caught the football. And we always playing around the neighborhood, playing at recess, playing at school, whatever it was. I played football as much as possible. Got to play some flag football, which I think was good for my development,
Sure.
throwing and catching and hitting moving targets. But I think ultimately when I finally got to 7th grade, that's when you don't really learn how to play tackle football until you go out there and play tackle football. So, I played offense and defense, played a few different positions, so it was fun and really got to be a kid and play some football like it was, like Little League or something.
So you're playing football, right? I mean, like dad, like you getting into mechanics though. Once you start to get a quarterback right away, or did he just let you play for a few years and then you get into high school and you start doing that and working on it that way, right? How did that process kind of work out as you started to become more evolved as a quarterback?
We worked on mechanics growing up, and I would do some 3-step drops and some footwork, and he would teach me how to throw the football. But it wasn't like every throw he was trying to critique me or correct me.
Yeah,
He
sure.
kind of let me go out there and play. But I do think the repetitions that we got, I probably bothered him a lot about the game and playing, and so I was, I think, developed by the time I got into 7th and 8th grade. I was a little bit further along than others throwing the ball, because he had been in my life teaching me for so long, and so that's just all I knew. So when I started throwing, I was hopefully doing it the right way, and learn some of those habits early on, so I didn't develop bad habits that he had to over coach at the end.
Did you realize like your arm was special before that? Did you already know, like when you were in 5th grade playing flag football, or did you know, wait, my arm's pretty damn good? Or was there a moment in 7th, 8th, 9th grade where you're like, wait, my arm's a little different than the rest of the guys we're playing against or at my school here?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think, growing up, I was able to throw and do the little things that was a little bit, it separated me a little bit from the other kids. But at the same time, that was like, we were all growing and developing. So really, I knew I was going to be able to, throw and be athletic and all that, but I didn't know how, big or how athletic I would end up being. So sometimes to make it to college football, you got to meet the size requirements, or
Yeah.
you got to be, certain athleticism, and your arm kind of evolves as you go. So middle school, high school, it was about ninth, 10th grade to where I started developing a little bit and was like, you know what, I think I'll be, big and strong enough with a good enough arm to go and play college. And then from there, once you make it to college, you start, putting your sights on the NFL. I never actually growing up, I was always just, my goal was to be a college quarterback, and
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to do. I watched so much of it. And then, as I evolved and as I grew up and then, became more aware, it was like, okay, then I want to be an NFL quarterback after college. So, but that's the unique part of the journey, is that we all have different goals and dreams, and
definitely.
we all have different, mindsets and ideas that we want. But that's what I was able to do, and I knew, about middle or about ninth, 10th grade that I could potentially play, at the next level.
Yeah, listen, I mean, obviously, and like, well, I forgot my point I was going to make there. Well, either way, I'll go on my next one, and it'll come back to me. Sorry, I'm blonde. I'm from New Jersey a little bit. All right, so wait, you hit on that there. When did you kind of, okay, so I feel like, hey, I'm a freshman, I'm a sophomore, I'm physically starting to like get it here. My body's coming along, okay? And then when did it start to go, okay, schools are starting to recruit for me? Oh, I understand what you're saying with your dad. I played with a lot of guys at Texas. Ultimate goal was Texas. They didn't even think about the NFL until all of a sudden their senior year in high school, right? And then they start to go, whoa, damn, wait, there's more football to be had after college. And your dad growing up in that and being a high school coach, I totally can understand that mindset. But to piggyback off of what I was saying a second ago, so, okay, starting to make a name for yourself in high school. You're playing basketball still, doing all that stuff as well throughout high school. When did you start to get
Oh yeah, I
recruited?
played.
When did you start to hear from teams and everything?
So I played basketball and baseball up until I went to college.
Awesome.
I graduated early, so couldn't play basketball the last year. But yeah, I played different years. I played basketball and baseball, and that was fun because that's the last times you get to play
Yeah, I'm with you.
the sports, and that's what you grew up doing. So that's the memories that you have. And I started to get recruited a little bit more after my freshman year, going into my sophomore year, and then it grew after that. I transferred schools after my 10th grade year, and in my junior and senior year were, I think, really good for my development. And I, had 2 good seasons.
And did you have dad coaching you at that point, your junior and senior
Oh
year?
yeah,
Yeah, like dive into
my
that a
my
little
dad
bit.
my
Yeah, how
dad
did that
coached
go?
me. My dad coached me from my 8th grade year on. My 7th grade year, I played middle school. Started on 7th grade, and then when it was a mixed 7th and 8th grade game, I would play up with the 8th grade. But that was middle school, and then 8th grade, I started to play more JV, and then I was the backup on varsity, and about halfway through the varsity season, our quarterback got hurt, and so I was kind of the only person left, the only guy that could go out there and orchestrate a play and do something with the football. So my dad let me go out there and play varsity as an 8th grader. So he was my
Wow.
coach from 8th grade to 12th grade. So I got 5 years, with my dad, and it was not always easy. It wasn't always,
I'm sure.
fun. I definitely had some good days and some bad days, but I wouldn't be where I am today without having those years, because I feel like I'm mentally tough because of the expectations and what he expected from me. But at the same time, he pushed me to a level I don't think I would have reached with another coach. So I think it was a good happy medium there, and I think it was the best for me.
Do you I want to ask you about some of your best arguments with your dad when it went down on the field, practice field. I mean, we know father-son relationship. I mean, damn, my dad won 2 Super Bowls. Sometimes we'd be out there throwing, and I'd be like, I don't want to hear you. You know what you're talking about, Dad. Whatever, right? We all
Mhm.
know how that works out. But you got any like stories like that between you and your dad getting after it during a game or yelling or anything like that?
Oh, I got several. We never, or I was, you know, I was better during games. I was more respectful during games and didn't necessarily, change play or go out there and, be crazy. But, several times in practice, he'd make me mad, and I would say something I probably shouldn't have, or, I wasn't always the most coachable, from him. I was a coachable kid, but not necessarily from him, because I just wanted, to do everything right for him. But, actually going into my senior year, the spring was so tough that my mom thought about, putting me in another school and having my dad coach and I just go play for somebody else. And I was like, no, you're crazy. That's never going to happen. I'm playing for my dad. And then things got better. And so it was always, those funny stories. He'd come home mad at me and I'd be mad at him. And eventually we'd both get over it and go to the next day or whatever. But it never was personal and it never boiled over to something worse. Thank goodness we had, a good personal relationship and we kind of kept it, from on the field to off the field. But I think, eventually my dad, it was about college. I came home one summer. I was like, Dad, you got to start training me again. I'm kind of, not getting enough development, while in the off season because college coaches can't coach you, so you're
Right,
just out there
right.
throwing. So I need some guidance. And we went out there one time, and he started coaching me. I was like, Dad, what are you talking about? That's not where that's not what we're doing now. And he finally was like, Look, I'm done. I'm gonna find you somebody that can train you. And we're gonna go somewhere else. He said I've maximized my coaching for you, and I'm gonna let somebody else do it. And sure enough, he hadn't coached me really since then. And so I've been training with David Morrison at QB Country, and I've seen a lot of growth from just the fundamentals and mechanics. And every once in a while, my dad will sneak something in and say, "Hey, tell him to do this or something," and
Yeah.
and that's what I hear. But that's all I really the coaching I get from Dad anymore.
All right, that's cool. That's the way it's supposed to be. You're a grown man now. He's not supposed to be coaching you too much. Just little tidbits here and there. I love it. I love it. That hey, it all comes to that point where the dad finally just goes, "All right, the hell with it. I'm done. I can't talk anymore." I see. This is why I like to do these interviews because I learn things about guys, and the first thing I'm learning here is that one, you must have been pretty mentally mature to be able to be the varsity quarterback as an eighth grader, right? And totally into the game to be able to be that. I started on varsity as a freshman, right? Eighth grade is a whole nother level. So I can speak to that a little bit. And then you got to feel like having your dad there, him watching over you, coaching you tough, not treating you with like preferential treatment. You got to feel like that made you mentally tougher and made you more prepared for where you are right now. Am I correct by stating that?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely give my mental toughness credit to him, and it was because of the many days of practice. He was, very tough, and this is how you do it, and you did it wrong, and you got to do it again, and this and that. There was a point I was like, man, I'm never going to get this. This is impossible. I'm never going to be, good enough. But eventually, every year you grow and you get better, and then I'm starting to play good, and he's giving me compliments, and there was nothing better than that. But yeah, I remember several times, in eighth grade, I was out there, doing my best. I'd only played the game for technically 2 years, and we had seniors out there that would go up to him and say, "Hey, coach, you need to relax on Bo a little bit. You're being too tough on him." And so some of those older guys saved me. But yeah, it was fun, and I was definitely mentally tough, definitely challenged, and had to ultimately grow up pretty fast and be mature. I didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, you don't, and especially when it's coming home with you at night on some nights too. Then you're like, damn, I still got to think
Hmm.
about this jerk yelling at me in practice and all of that and how to compartmentalize all of it. All right, so we go there. Now we got, wait, hey, it's Bo Nix. He's been recruited. He's going to college, whatever. Of course, he's going to Auburn. His dad was Patrick Nix, the quarterback of the 13-0 Auburn Tigers team. That works out, right? I mean, was there a close call there between anybody else at the end, or did you kind of feel like it was inevitable as far as going to Auburn?
Well, it was a kind of a strange thing because I visited several places and I was like, man, I could see myself going here. Like this would be a great situation. And but there was something about Auburn. I felt like I owed it to myself. Having that dream and having that that goal of playing at Auburn and going to beating Alabama and trying to win a championship. That I felt like I owed it to myself. And while I had the opportunity, I didn't really want to pass it up, and I didn't want to go away from it. Now, there was several, coaches and teams that were very, very close. They recruited me very hard, and they were, special coaches and very, great relationship builders and great, teachers of the game. And
Right.
I saw their product on the field. As a high school kid, I saw what they were doing with their college guys. And, so it was a tough decision, but I felt like ultimately, Auburn was really where I wanted to go. And, you only play 12 games a year. So outside of those 12 games, where do I want to go to college and where do I want to, advance my career? And it was, an easy decision, and it was Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, it obvious, and I get it all there, right? I can remember watching you at Auburn with my dad, and we're going, man, this Bo Nix got a little something. And, it doesn't look pretty. Your team wasn't always that great. Your offense wasn't that great. I'll say those things for you. Don't worry about it, right? So, but now you get to a point where, like, where did it come to a head? Because this has got to be tough. Like, I changed my commitment at a high school. I said I was going to go to Tennessee, and then I changed to Texas a few weeks later. This is a different ball game. This is, wait, you're the quarterback at Auburn. Wait, your dad's a legend at Auburn. You've been here, right? How did it kind of all come to this pinnacle of, wait, I think Auburn's not the best place for me. I need to go somewhere else and try to figure that out.
Well, it was, I think, like you just mentioned, a lot of people watching, they kind of forget some of the good things that happened, and they forget some of
Yes.
the
The
special moments and
circumstances
the
around it.
big
Right.
wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we kind of made the negative a little bit bigger than what it was. But regardless, it was just to a point my junior year, to where I kind of felt stuck, and I kind of felt like I wasn't, growing any or getting better or reaching my full development. And I felt like I could, get a fresh start somewhere else. And fortunately for me, that opportunity was at Oregon, and it was such a great opportunity to where it kind of lifted me back up and got me going again. And I think just it was a you know, different perspective, and I was able to go and not feel, the self-endured pressure that I put on myself from
Right.
from Auburn. And you know, that's what I wanted to do my whole life. So I put a lot of pressure into it. I had
I
one
get
shot,
it.
one shot to do
Yeah.
it, one chance. But
Right.
and then I was just eventually like, it's just not going to work here. And maybe that's not what I'm supposed to do. Maybe it's not at Auburn where I can do these things. And so at Oregon, all my dreams came back alive, and I was able to pursue those and compete for a championship. I was up for the Heisman and all these cool accolades that come with playing the game. And that's what everybody who plays, that's what they dream of. So, it was just fortunate. I was fortunate to find a place, like Oregon to help me do that.
It's a gutsy move. It really is. I give you credit for that. It's not easy to do, especially when there's, family heritage stuff involved there. So, gutsy move there by you, necessary move. Okay, so you get to Oregon. You talk about the growth of the player, right? And you wanted more. You felt like you weren't quite getting to where you wanted to go quick enough, right? What areas were they, that you're talking about, right? And within that, the areas you're talking about, and yeah, what was that biggest area of growth as compared to Auburn Bo Nix to Oregon Bo Nix?
Well, ultimately it came down to the flexibility and the overall freedom that I had within the offense. And Coach Dillingham gave me the tools to go out there and just be Bo. And my first year at Oregon, I felt like I was able to go out there and play at a high level and do a lot of different things and showcase what I was capable of doing. And ultimately that led to this past year, and building off of that and going out there each week and trying to find the most efficient way possible to play the game and play the position. And I got better and better as it went, but it was also 2 great years.
Yeah, it was great years. I mean, you played awesome football, Bo. I don't underestimate yourself there. It was amazing. It really was. Enjoyed watching. And you talked about the flexibility of the offense. Like, that's what I kind of wanted to talk to you about a little bit. And I got some plays here. Got a play that from Texas Tech, right? And again, it's not a changing of the play here, but before we start it and play it, right? I'd like you to explain it to us a little bit, and even before that, explain to us how much flexibility you have. I mean, on this play here, you obviously are going to change some protection, and we'll get into that in a second. But did you have free reign to check to anything at any time? How much freedom did you exactly have?
Yeah, I did, and we went over all the tools throughout the week, and we went over the scheme and the different things that we wanted to get to. So here's just really simple. I believe it's going to be, empty, one of our bread and butters. We're going to have verticals with an option route, underneath, and we see obviously pressure coming from the left.
Yep, weak side
They're
linebacker.
rolled down, and so
Right.
this is an easy copy call, and so sometimes you don't always see it, but if you see it, you want to get maxed up. And so here we have Troy on a safety, and we felt like that was a unreal matchup when we get those. And here we don't connect, but it wasn't often that we miss
No, you didn't.
connections like
No.
this. So sometimes you don't hit them all, but this was a great opportunity for us to have a big play, and we have man free, and we got him. And that sun in Texas is a little different
It
when you look
is on
back.
there. It
And so that
is.
was tough. So we that's one you get used to. And but it, like I said, it doesn't happen a lot. Troy and I don't miss a whole
No,
lot.
you
So that
don't
was
miss
one
at
of the fun
all.
parts about that was one of the fun parts about playing with those guys is we were on. I mean, he knew the ball was coming to him, I'm sure, when he saw safety roll down and they were in man. And so this was just an easy copy call, and we just changed the protection and get the known blitzers, and then now we got a clean pocket to throw a good one-on-one route to.
Yeah, yeah, and again, it's I feel bad for Troy there, and I didn't mean to show an incompletion, but the throw was awesome, and I wanted to show a play of you being able to point things
Yeah,
out.
no doubt.
So that's I mean, and I will verify you hit him a million times on those and other receivers on that type of route right there. So don't worry about that. But so protection, all that stuff, you had free reign to change that. I guess originally you probably had the guy on the right, number 13, as the Mike linebacker, right? You saw number 8, the single safety. You want to slide him over there. You get to do that. That's incredible. It's awesome they kind of gave you that trust and let you in the trust tree that way.
Oh yeah, we had a lot of protection meetings, and we understood it inside and out. And originally, my thought is to send the slide to the right, and that's where my eyes are going to the left first with the beginning of the read. And so if I'm hot, if he comes from depth, I can react and adjust. But if he's going to make it obvious like this, then we'll copy it. And now we got a clean pocket again, and we're just working off that low hole defender of the mic now.
Do you got like a package of plays when he tells you to audible, or you have free reign to audible anything, or is it kind of like during the week schematic meeting, like, hey, when we're an empty in this formation, they do this and this. When we do that, we like these 4 or 5 audibles, or was it more like you can literally get to anything you want?
So it's a mixture of that. It's here obviously you're not going to condense and come back and run a run play. So
Right, right.
with the structure that we've already got in place, maybe it's moving one guy or maybe it's moving 2 guys, but you're not going to necessarily change the entire structure of the formation and then the play. So in that case, we were in empty. So the quickest way is just to copy it and go the other way, and then you're good again. And worst case scenario, you bring a running back in, and then you go 6-man protection, and his guy's wasted, and you still work the concept. We've done that several times with that play too. So there was many conversations, and we discussed a lot of like, if we get this, we want to get to this. If we get this, you can change this.
That's
And
right. Right.
so it was habit over time to where I knew my checks, and I knew the
Yes.
operation.
Right. You were a programmed robot, which is what a good OC does at that point. All right. So here's another
Absolutely.
play I want to dive into because I got so sick of hearing during the year, oh, Bo Nix can't throw the ball deep. Like, I'll just say it. Shut the hell up, everybody. Like, what are you talking about? Every deep ball he needs to throw, he throws it. Right. And this is what I like about you a lot, too. Now, you're not the offensive coordinator. You guys got a good team. Your screen game works really well. And you're an awesome screen game thrower. I just want to state that, too. Your ability to get the ball out of your hand quickly and accurately is extremely impressive, and it's a real skill in the NFL game that's needed that way. But I watch plays. I'm big into take advantage of what's there to be had as a quarterback, right? And I am. And again, I watch so many plays where a play like this where go, oh yeah, we got the 10-yard completion over the middle. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, that's cool, but the guy down the middle was open for a 50-yard touchdown pass, right? Here's one where you got open guys. You're going to throw the post, and you're a way better deep ball thrower and power thrower than people give you credit for. How did you see this one? How did you feel it? Because at first look, you don't think you're going to have the post down the middle, and then you kind of sit there and wait on it, and you throw a strike.
Well, this one is very close again to being a touchdown, and Tez knew it. So we want this play against single high, and when they're going to match up the backside dig, we know that the first post will cross the safety's face, and you're really throwing it to the pylon. This is actually probably, I threw it further than I should have on this one. I should have just led him to the pylon, and he'd have been fine. But sometimes. Again, like you go back and you take enough of these shots, you're going to hit them, but sometimes you miss them. And this was one that we had, and
hey, you did awesome. You hit it. You hit it. They didn't catch it. Don't worry, I'll say it.
No, see, I brought him up.
You brought him up the field a little too much, right?
Instead of bringing him, on his angle. But I mean, it's.
Well, my point is, how did you see it? That's where I wanted to see it. Because, the look itself, if we can re-rack it from the start, guys, the look itself, I would go, oh, well, just throw the in cut at the top of the screen. The in cut there, you're going to have it. The safety's kind of deep. I don't know if you're going to have the deep post. I'm impressed with you having a feel is what I'm trying to get at, to go, wait, I know this doesn't look open right away, but I know it's about to come open. What was your context clue to kind of know that it was going to pop or you would have a chance to have this?
Well, we like this play against single high, and we want to read this boundary safety. And when he, is essentially at linebacker depth, if that corner takes the in cut, we're one-on-one with the post safety who's thinking he's got the middle half. So he's not going to necessarily run with the other post. So I just have to wait until Tez crosses face of that free safety. And with his hips open to the field right here, he's going to cross eventually. So now I just want to see Tez's angle and give him a good, easy, catchable ball that he can run under.
And I'm not going to lie, right? Okay, full transparency, I didn't even realize this ball fell incomplete, okay? The other one I did, this one I didn't. I was like, oh, wait, this was an interesting one. Let me look at this. I was looking at your deep shots there, and I didn't even realize you didn't make the catch, and you missed them by a half an inch. So I'm sorry about that, okay? I didn't mean to do that at all. But this is where – again, are you getting questions about this from evaluators at all as far as your arm strength, anything like that? I can't imagine anybody's got a real issue with anything like that when they watch your game, because you make all the throws that are necessary.
No, I'm not, that's not really something that we discuss.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you're with evaluators right now, right? I know you're going to make a few visits here and all of that. What do you feel like people want to get to know you about or question you about in your game, as it sits right now?
Well, I think they've actually, I think, what it comes down to is they've heard a lot of different things, about Bo. There's a lot of things out there, there's this and that and this and that, and some contradict each other. And so literally, I think they just want to see it for themselves and get in front of me in a meeting room, and they want to, talk football, and then they want to go out there and see me throw it, and they want to see my pro day. And, so I don't know if it's necessarily, I don't know what they question, but I do know that they just want to see it maybe for themselves and, see it in real life.
Yeah. They're trying to figure it out and piece it all together. All right. Now, we got a one here next coming up where you complete the pass, okay, and you throw a strike, and I want to get into that. Finally, right? You're literally what an asshole Chris Sims is. He brings me on and shows me plays, and two of them are incompletions. One wasn't your fault. One maybe was just a little your fault. I still think it was a damn impressive throw. I love this throw. Here, one of the things I love about your game is you don't need room to throw the football. You don't need to step in or hitch step aggressively and need all this space. Like this throw here, you kind of get to the back of your drop, you hitch in place, and you throw a strike, a power throw right down the middle of the field, right? Take us through that a little bit. It's one of those things, Bo, that I look at that I love about you, and then sometimes I go, I wish Bo would just step into this throw a little bit more, and he'd throw it 4 miles per hour harder, right? How do you balance this aspect of your game here?
Well, it's definitely tough because sometimes though you can do it, it's not always the best to do it. And we have this play against single high cover three, and we've got double post, and so we expect the tight end here to go and collect that first safety, and then that next lane is for the outside receiver there for Tez. But Berg sees the opening, and so he stays vertical. And as I'm going to throw it to Tez, he's in the window that is already open. So I kind of adjust in mid throw just to throw it to him because I set to come out here
Your
naturally.
eyes are to the left there, like it's gonna go left. This is what I was gonna ask you about. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my the read's taking you to the outside lane,
Right,
but
right.
the tight end in this case ends up in that lane, so he's just the next open guy. So I kind of just
You played
threw it over there
football.
and threw it to the spot and let him catch it. But yeah, this was one of our best red zone concepts. We got the double post going, and here Ferg catches it, and we come back and we hit the post, and we hit different things on this play. It was one of our better red zone answers.
Well, that's what I was intrigued by this play when I watched it, when we picked it out here to show you today, because I was like, wait, was he just setting up to the left to like move a guy a little bit, knowing he was going to go down the middle? Or were you setting up to the left, like thinking, oh no, this is probably where this should go against this coverage, and you're telling me that's what you did, and then you just played football, you and your tight end, and realized, hey, instinctually that I got to get the ball there. But
Right.
so
Yeah. So it turns into more of a four vert.
right.
We had the post, so you hit the same, literally the same point. I probably could have made the same throw, and Tez would have run through and caught it, but he sees Ferg there. So this is one of those out. I see cover three, so you come back to hitch to the outside post, and then if the flat defender gets in front of that, then you throw the check down. But here you set, and then Ferg's there and open and available, so it kind of just. I mean, it was definitely a quick, decision, and you don't always want to set one way and throw to somebody else. But fortunately for me on this one, it worked out.
Yeah, well, that's life in the NFL. You're gonna have to make a few throws like that every now and then. I mean, that's something that I think that really evaluators will look at and go, yeah, we know that's not perfect, but it's a necessity in the league. At times for your feet not to be perfect, all of that, right? I've talked about your arm. I think it's punny, powerful, and strong, and all of that. Way better than it's getting credit for. I know that, right? I do want you to kind of hit me up a little bit with mechanics, right? Who do you work with? I know you brought up the name. How much are you working with him, right? And yeah, like how big of a part of his life is your quarterback coach?
Yeah, so Demo David Morris, he's been working with me for I guess 3 years now. So we've been working on a lot of different things. Some ground force and some rotational force and all those things that go into the release of the throw and not being so much over the top. I think sometimes you hear coaches, they'll say get your elbow up or get more over the top, and technically that's not what you want to do. You want to be a little bit more rotational, and you want to keep your left arm inside, keep that shoulder closed, and kind of change the trajectory of that arm angle. So I've been working on some arm angles, and even though you can say, oh, he throws with many different arm angles, it's like you want to find that slot that works and is consistent pretty much every time. And that's all throwing is finding the consistent release point over and over and over so you can be most accurate and you can throw it with the most velocity. So that's what we've been working on. And this draft process is the first time I've really been able to put more than 2 or 3 days at a time, at it. You don't always get time to go and work with a trainer for a long period of time and just focus on one thing, and that's yourself, and get yourself, locked in. But here with the draft process, while I'm not on a team, that's what you're doing is you're getting, I'm getting myself as good as possible. And I'm, I've made a lot of strides just from the season, in throwing and finding a lot of consistencies. And, like when my hip does this is what I feel, and this is how it comes out, and it's a lot better. So doing that over and over and finding it, because I've created a habit for so long of, how I learned to throw it and what I was, taught to throw. And that's what I've been doing. And so now with some tweaks and a few little adjustments, I got to retrain my body and reprogram my mind to do that over and over, so that when I get in a game and I'm thinking about, single high safety and who he took away and what drop and this and that, my form is consistent and my form is natural, and it's just a habit.
Yeah, you got to be a machine that way. You can't be thinking about, oh, I got to keep my front shoulder in, I got to do this or whatever, right? There's no time to
Exactly.
think about that. What's the biggest adjustment you think you've made post, the season being over with your quarterback coach about your mechanics, where you go, ooh, that's made a difference in my life and how I throw the football?
I think just from arm slot of taking it down to a little bit more 3/4,
Yeah.
and then it's not sidearm, but it's
No.
not over the top, and I'm not going over my front leg, and then
Right.
that keeps me from locking out my front leg, keeps me more with front knee bend and some just body posture and more leverage, and I play a little bit more snappy. I play a little quicker, and then it also helps keep my front shoulder close because I'm kind of leaning more to the right as I'm throwing, and instead of falling off to the left
Right.
and ripping that arm and doing a lot of this over the top things, I'm kind of going a little bit more rotational and can
Yeah.
keep the front elbow in and can just kind of throw from that 3/4 arm slot.
I know you're new to Chris Sims Unbuttoned, but this is something that we've emphasized for 5-6 years, ever since I've been doing my podcast or hosting Pro Football Talk, right? I mean, you watch Rodgers, you watch Josh Allen, Mahomes, they throw, and it's more about going across, rotating, not like the old Johnny Unitas, oh, my elbow is way above my head in the high release, right? That's just, it's not conducive to this day and age in the NFL. With that too, just before, because I got two more plays I want to show you or talk about with you. But how about the football of the NFL, right? Have you enjoyed that as far as the quality of the football? I know it's a little bigger than what you threw in college. It doesn't have the stripe. The leather's a little bit better, right? Have you found that adjustment to be comfortable so far?
I love it. I think
Yeah.
I'm excited about playing with the same football. So, I play with many different coaches in college and also play with many different footballs. So each year I felt like I was playing with a different football, and now I can play with the same football for the rest of my life and don't have to change and can get used to it. So I'm excited about it. I love the Duke. It's a great ball. Bigger, but I think it goes further, and I think it kind of takes itself and it spins itself, and
It
you hear that a
does.
lot, but it
Yeah.
it, it really is true. And so a lot of throws kind of they may come out not as clean, but they just find their way to spin, and
They still look
I
clean.
like it, and
Yeah.
obviously still getting used to it. I've only been throwing it for 3 months now, but by the time you get to your second, third, fourth, fifth season, you're throwing the same football, and I think you got to think that it makes a difference once you throw
Oh,
enough times.
definitely will. Did you have to adjust your grip at all compared to the college ball to the NFL ball, or did you still be able to keep your fingers in the same slots and the laces?
So I've messed around with a few different grips at
Yeah,
times, especially in college with different footballs. But I got a few that I like to go to, and sometimes when you're throwing it quick, you don't always get
sure.
the
Right,
laces, or you don't always get
right.
the grip you want. So I like to adapt and change the grip, and sometimes I'll mess around with it. But my original my grip that I like to use, I've just been able to keep it and just go from there.
All right, that's good. That's good. I know you probably tweak with it too. I tweaked my grip a little in the NFL a few years. My dad
Yeah.
did too. My dad was in year 5 of his NFL career. He changed his grip. He had one of the best years of his career. So, I think that's an ongoing kind of feel type of thing as you
Hmm.
get older and all that. All right,
It is. Yeah, it's a feel.
yeah, it's the feel, right? That's what it's all about. All right, so I want to get to two other aspects of your game here because first off, what I've said to a lot of people is, hey, Jaden Daniels, we know he's an incredible runner. But I said Bo Nix, when I call scrambling, ability to buy time behind the line of scrimmage, play backyard football, and make throws, I believe you and Caleb Williams are the best in this draft class at doing that type of stuff. And I hold that in high regard because, again, the NFL, the pockets aren't always clean. There's freaks of nature everywhere coming off the edge. I love this about your game. So let's play this one. This is about Cal stepping up a little bit, feeling the pocket. You have an incredible pocket presence, right? But I'm really impressed with your control and your power throwing the ball on the run, Bo. I mean, is that something that you equally spend as much time on with your quarterback coach, or is that something that just came natural to you?
Well, that comes a little bit more with athleticism and I think, natural ability. But you definitely do have to practice it just to fill it out. And I think when your body's in sync and in rhythm, it makes these things easier. But this is just a simply put a longer developing play in a 5-man protection. So you got to buy some time and you got to be able to allow the play to get
Yeah,
open.
to
So I feel
develop,
like
right.
sometimes if I sit in the pocket here, it just kills my offensive linemen. They're trying to battle and hold up for a longer period of time. But if I can just buy some time and evade just a little bit, it makes it easier on all of us. And so here, the easier way to evade is to the right. And so that in comes just a high rush, and there's no, next level defender. The nose kind of stays in his gap. And so obviously you can, out leverage him pretty fast. And so this, you don't necessarily have to leave the pocket. And if it's a perfect,
Sure,
clean
sure.
pocket, no high rushers, they're not really rushing hard, then you can stay there and be clean. But with a good defensive rush and defenses that are just going to get after the quarterback and have high motors, you got to be able to find time. And in this case, it was just a quick little flush to the right and letting Tez get over there across the field.
Incredible throw. It's an incredible throw. And this is the kind of, and I probably didn't illustrate this enough. This is the point I was trying to make on the throw with Stanford, right? Against Stanford. I love your ability to know, wait, this isn't perfect, but I know this guy's going to come open against this coverage. And you might not get a chance to
Right.
throw a 20-yard crossing route every play or somebody be open for a 50-yard post. So what I was trying to illustrate is you have a great feel of what should be open against this coverage, and I love that. Hey, listen, there's other quarterbacks in this draft class that I'd go, they wouldn't do what you do here. They wouldn't step up in the pocket and go, oh wait, my deep crosser's about to come open. They just go, oh, let me throw to my back and get my check down, and I'll get the completion, right? And that's where I love your game, and that's where I think you maximize, right? So right away, because of this coverage and what you got in the play, you're right. You're like, man, my guy's going to come open here. I just got to have the time to do it. And, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's certainly what it feels like, and I see that a lot in your game, and I really love that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not always, you can't always predetermine, but in this case, it's single high, and we want to run this play for single high.
Yeah.
And they were going to run and carry with man, and so you just literally have to let Tez get over there, and once he gets over there, he's going to be open. Just because his skill set, you got to have confidence in those guys and throw it, while he's open. But even if the DB's in trail mode here, he's still open. It's a runaway against man. You just got to find a throw, in your toolbox to throw. Maybe he's undercutting and he's, trailing. You got to put a little bit more air. And if he's going over the top, then you can put it flatter. In this case, he's just running open. So you want to put it, right in his face. So there's just a different, it's a different concept and it's a different, strategy, but it works, most of the time.
Incredible. It's an incredible throw. It's a big time NFL type of throw right there. All right. So the next one I want to get to is it's Mahomes-ish, this one right here. And this is to me, this is the thing again where I say it all the time. This is a big part of life in the NFL right now. There's a reason Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Mahomes are awesome. It's because when nothing is there, they still make something happen and get positive plays out of it. I see you do that a lot. All right, let's watch the play and let's just you wax poetically about it because I think this is one of the better plays in college football this year. This was incredible. Scramble, throw, everything about it I absolutely loved.
So we run the mesh concept here, and they do a great job in 4-match of just matching patterns here. And so you go through your progression, the rail, the under, the OTB, back to the over the top mesh, and they do a good job of passing it all off. So it's a early down, and you're going tempo in the red zone. You don't want to just force something, and then the pocket is coming from inside. It's a good rush inside, so they give you the lane to move outside, and then you're just going scramble to a throwaway here. So in this case, you try to buy time, and if there's nobody inside, you're just going to throw it away, naturally. But Pat does a great job from going from his under mesh back over across, and then people think I'm throwing it to Troy back there, but I was throwing it to Pat right there in the front, and Troy happens to be wide open in the back of the end zone there. So I had two great options there. So if I did missed Pat. I knew Troy was back there in the back, but he makes a great catch because he could have taken a hit right there, but he just went up there and caught it, and that was a big touchdown for
Yeah.
us at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, big touchdown. He threw a laser here too. That was a good catch, and I never thought you were throwing to the guy behind him. So I'll verify that. But what goes through your mind in those moments, right? Like I've talked to Mahomes about these type of moments, and he actually somewhat jokingly serious is like he basically said I go into panic mode. It's like panic mode, like, oh no, I don't know what I'm going to do, and I just react, right? Take us inside of Bo Nix's brain in these moments and kind of how you dissect it or make the game slower in such a chaotic moment.
Well, to me, it is a little bit of a panic mode, and there's no rules anymore besides don't turn the ball over.
Yeah,
So you
right,
have to be
right.
smart with whatever decision you make, but at the same time, it there's no structure to it, so it becomes full
Backyard football
reaction and
mode, right? Yeah, yeah.
full reaction, and you just gotta instinctually find the guy that's open and then throw it away, and you kind of have to slow it down in your head and in your mind as you're doing it because people are chasing you, people are getting open, the pattern structure is different now, so you just literally got to find where people are, your vision. And I think it turns into a little bit more basketball, like fast break, and you don't necessarily know what the defense is doing either, but they're a little bit out of sorts because they're trying to find guys too, and then the D line's still chasing you down, but they're going to get tired eventually, and they don't like chasing over and over and over. So
Right.
you just kind of have to mess around, and it's a little bit of an art that I've had to get better with, and you don't necessarily it doesn't click at the beginning, and that's why Patrick is so great at it because he's just instinctually he never makes bad plays, and he always just turns these into incredible plays. And we're talking about him the next day, but that's just what you got to do. You got to keep the play alive and hold it as long as you can sometimes. But the most important thing is at the end of the day, if you throw it away, it didn't
Yeah,
hurt.
that's
It's just
right.
like throwing an incompletion. So
That's right.
don't make a bad play worse. And I've learned that, through doing it. You learn that through practice. You try some things and, you get in trouble for it. And you're like, okay, I can't do that. So you got to take that out. And then you find the things that do work, and, you go from there.
I like your little analogy there. It's basketball fast break. That's a good way to put it. That really is. I love that aspect about your game. I'm not going to say you're Patrick Mahomes yet, but there's some Mahomes-ish type of stuff
Right.
right there. I like that a lot. All right, so I know you got some visits coming up. I'm a big fan of yours. I've been one for a long time here going, man, Sean Payton's going to watch Bo Nix's film and go, damn, this looks a lot like Drew Brees. But I know you told me before we came on you do have a few visits planned. What are they, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, yeah, I won't get into specifics, but I do have, 3 visits coming up. Excited for those. I've had some great visits, in the past couple of weeks with some privates and some meetings, and so things are going very smoothly, and things are, I guess at the end when things are starting to heat up, this is when the time you want to be meeting with teams, and so I'm excited about those, and you can probably put together most of them because the teams that don't need a quarterback versus the teams that are looking for them in the looking for them in the draft. But I'm excited for those, and overall it's been a great draft process. Very unique time, one that I am eager for it to be done and be on a team, but at the same
Yeah.
time I don't want to skip this part of the process and wish it away. So excited about where we're at, and I'm going to be ready for wherever that is and wherever the draft takes me.
Yeah, well, we're excited, Bo. We really are. I appreciate you taking all this time for me. I mean, I really do. I know I probably kept you here longer than you would have liked. You got other things to do, But yeah, enjoy that process. It only comes around once. I was anxious too at one point, but damn, I'd do anything to go back and do it again. So that's one to tell you right there. Have fun with it, man. Kick
Mm-hmm.
some butt. I really appreciate you to come on. Best of luck with your next part of your journey, man. Good luck, Bo.
Hey, I appreciate it a lot. Thanks for having me on today.
No problem, Bo. Be good, buddy. Good luck. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
See you, man.
Sounds
Be
good.
good. Yo, homies, what's up? I know it's the off season, but it's never the off season on Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Me and Ahmed Fareed are going to be here for it all. You know, we got free agency. We're going to break it all down. The draft, the rankings of positions. Of course, we're going to unpack it all. Hit subscribe, get to my free agency reactions, 2024 draft rankings, and more. Thanks again for watching. Peace out, homies. See you soon.